Yo, what's up, and welcome back to another episode of The Movie Newbie. I'm your host, Jibril Ishaimi, and for the first time ever, I am not joined by the two usual guys, Raf and Ollie. They are not here. This is going to be a special theme, as you've heard on the bonus-ode. But yeah, for this one, we've got my partner, Lorna. She's taking it away. We're doing Summer Blockbusters number 3. And for the first time ever as well, we're doing movies that are actually in cinema. I'm not sure if movies are still in cinema right now, but I mean, they've come out recently. So,
what a change.
Yeah, nice little change. But yeah, Lorna, how about you say hello?
Hi, it's me.
She's back. What was the movie that we did?
The boxing one.
Raging Bull.
Raging Bull.
Someone's done his homework.
Lorna made me listen to it to prepare for this.
Well, if you heard that
the best.
special, lovely voice, the new voice in the room.
The person next to me who's called Amar.
Yeah. How about you say hello? Introduce yourself. Give us a little bit of knowledge on why you should be on the Movie Newbie.
Why have you come today?
Because I'm the complete opposite. I am not the movie newbie. I am the movie oldie.
Yes.
Yeah, so hi, my name's Amar. I studied at St. Martin's Lorna, and that's how I am basically here right now. So thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, baby.
Yeah.
Although I do loan out Blu-rays that Lorna does keep away from me and
you're
return.
the personal blockbuster.
Yeah,
The last 6 years.
I'll be handing you to the ends of the earth for those back, please.
I'm overdue a fine of 4 years.
So yeah, I mean, I love film. I'm obsessed with film. All I do is talk about film and watch films. I think
you're studying film as well, right?
Studying
Masters?
film. I've been in films.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, you have been in films.
Just a singular one that managed to see me on the screen, which is quite fun.
Nice.
Everyone's sick about me talking about it, so I thought I'd amplify my voice to everyone who doesn't usually hear me talk about it.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned this before we started recording, but this whole podcast started because I was sick of my two best friends speaking about films that I didn't understand. So instead of going like, "Ugh, I don't hang out with you guys anymore," I went, "Let's turn this into a podcast like every straight male does."
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, this is my first time I've been on a podcast. So
welcome.
This is great. Yeah.
Yeah. We got your podcast
Ginity.
I mean, let me tell you, I'm ready to offload. Let me tell you.
Oh,
All right.
wow.
Well,
okie dokie.
I guess it's time to get to it because for the first time ever, we're doing Summer Blockbusters, and they are the blockbusters of this summer 2023.
I think of the century.
You think so? Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been a while since we've had such a huge.
Yeah, I think it's been the big summer hits.
Yeah.
I think
for the first time in years.
I think it's the first time ticket sales have like been record in over 10 years. It's broken record. Like this summer particularly.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
and I think also for me personally, it's the first time that I'm like genuinely really excited
about cinema.
About just going to the cinema. Because most of their films has been like, oh yeah, I want to see it. I'll see it at some point. But all these films, I've been like, I want to see opening weekend. Like I want to see it straight away. I want to see it before I get spoilers on Instagram and all this kind of stuff. I want to see it now. Which is...
Yeah. So with the, I guess, lackluster performance of June with films that came out in June, we're kicking this off with July. July has been amazing. And for the first episode of this theme, we're going to be talking about Mission Impossible 7. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Yes. This is the first Mission Impossible we're doing for the cinema, for this podcast. But I think it's, I guess, the best movie to start with, just because if you think of Mission Impossible, you think of blockbusters. Like Tom Cruise has been a part of our lives since we were born. And I think this film franchise, I guess you could say, has been around since we were born, you know, like first one 96 and now 2023, which is insane. So let's get some initial thoughts from the both of you. How about Amar? Guess number one.
Yeah, I mean, I was been waiting for this for like years. Like I went to see the previous on Fallout in the IMAX, and like I jumped out of my seat. It was that good. And I'm a big fan of Tom Cruise, so obviously I was really excited. And yeah, I loved it. I thought it was fucking brilliant. I was there
You saw it in IMAX?
In IMAX, yeah, opening
but
night.
Like 3D IMAX or just normal
No,
IMAX?
it's just standard 2D.
Okay. I was like, wow.
I mean, it wasn't...
Tom Cruise in 3D?
Surprisingly, it wasn't filmed in IMAX.
Yeah.
It was just projected to IMAX ratio, which is fine. I mean, the previous film had IMAX scenes filmed, like the Halo jump and a few other sequences of the helicopter stuff. But this one wasn't. But I think it was on purpose for the specific reasons of it being shot, the first film in the series to be shot on digital rather than film, which was, I think, a very interesting reason, purely because of the narrative and the subject matter that they were dealing with. So the transfer to digital film was quite exciting, I thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved it. I thought everything was brilliant. Like, you can dissect it, but those are my initial thoughts. Yeah.
Sick.
I was happy. Yeah. Basically, yeah. I only started watching all of them, I think, like a month or two ago.
Right.
I weirdly started off with, was it number 2 I started off with? Or 3?
We watched a movie together. I think it was 2.
I think it was 2.
Yeah, because 2 is the most
And it
like
was
bombastic, like
freaking
90s style.
Yeah, it's
weird.
one.
I was like, what the hell is this film? I don't know what's going on. And all the women were in it, and I was like, man. And then I was like, okay. And then I think I jumped to like 5, which was a massive contrast. And then eventually I was like, okay, I need to get back and actually watch 1 to 6. Well,
7.
Now 7.
Yeah, now 7.
Yeah.
And then it started to make a little bit more sense. And I got really into it then. So then when this one came out, I kind of finished the marathon films. So I was like super pumped to go see it. Like the first time I'm actually really excited to see an action movie. Like I like action movies, but I don't love action movies. I'm like, oh yeah, they're just entertaining. But I don't know. I was a bit kind of like,
yeah.
Okay.
I think I get where you're coming from. With the Mission Impossible franchise. Yeah, what were you gonna say?
But I think the more I've thought about it, the more I'm like, wow, it was a really impressive movie. And I think I just kind of take for granted these films sometimes.
Yeah,
sure.
I think I took it a bit for granted.
I think
I give it a good, it's better.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Jabril.
No worries. So I was gonna say, like, this might be a hard take. It might be a take, but I think the Mission Impossible franchise itself is probably one of the best, if not the best franchise, because we don't get like a movie every year or every 2 years.
Yeah.
So whenever you do see a Mission Impossible, it is like it's an event.
Yeah.
That's true.
Like I'd say Mission Impossible 1 and Mission Impossible 2, their main competitor was a Pierce Brosnan 007.
Sure.
So then it got into the noughties, and then I guess it started off being more realistic with number 3. You have Philip Seymour Hoffman as the main villain. I think my favorite villain in the Mission Impossible franchise. And then you come to this, where you have a 60-year-old Tom Cruise riding a bike off of a mountain, and that's not even the most crazy sequence in the film. So like,
it is. But yeah, it's true though. I never thought of it in that way, because there's no like prequels, there's no like side character TV shows, which is kind of
come from that 70s TV show.
Oh, but you know how now the Star Wars world is fucking massive.
Expanded,
exactly.
And now, and obviously with Marvel as well, you're just overwhelmed. You're kind of getting to the point where you're not bored, but you're just like,
so much information.
Exhausting.
Yeah.
And you're not that excited anymore when a new one comes out, because there's always something out. But yeah, I suppose with, I was going to say James Bond.
Well, I was going to say
like it is like a rare event. It's like, every couple of years. And it's like, woo.
Like, and it's interesting to say, because like Marvel and Star Wars, out of, let's say, the franchisee kind of creations, are the 2 that are like successful and are good. Like if you look at all the failed franchises that have been tried, like things that come to mind are like Ghostbusters, Zack Snyder,
the
Justice
DC
League,
stuff,
there's so many countless like things that have just failed. So Mission Impossible for me has been something that's just like, it's just gotten better and better and better.
Yeah.
And it's not because it's realistic. It's not because it's true. You know, it's just like,
it just leans into the genre, right?
It's okay. So last week the 3 of us plus your roommate,
my flatmate, my flatmate John,
yeah. So we all went to the Empire spoiler special about MI7, and it had Christopher McQuarrie, the director of the film. And I would say like my opinion of the film before and my opinion of the film after was, I guess, slightly altered just by the way that he was speaking. But he said something really, really interesting, and it was the difference between entertainment and resonance, or something like that. You know, it's not like the film. It's not like Oppenheimer, let's say.
Yeah.
And it's not pure entertainment either. It has a fine balance.
Somewhere in the middle, right?
Somewhere in the middle. So I guess this is a good way to, I guess, segue into our first question of the day.
Sure.
We're going to go with our favorite scenes, or your favorite scene, or your best scene of the film MI7. You guys should know there's going to be spoilers for this. And I guess because the films are in cinema right now. Yeah, I'm sorry if you didn't watch the film.
Yeah, but stop listening now. Yeah, get your ass in the cinema, and then get your ass back on this.
Run there, run back.
So, who wants to take this first? Their favorite scene. Yeah, all right, let's go. Fuck it.
I have a few actually.
Oh,
okay. So I saw the film quite a while ago, so my memory is, but
okay.
But the scene where they're all in the room.
There are a few
and they're
of those.
all the kind of businessy men, and it's got the guy from the original. Like,
the opening scene.
Oh, right, with all the heads of the CIA and stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they're talking about like, oh, what's what is IMF? And then what does it stand for? And they're like, oh, Mission Impossible. And I thought it was like kind of funny that they are just taking the piss of this very like 90s idea.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's pretty funny. And I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah. And obviously, and in that scene, obviously you get the whole reveal and you get the face mask thing, and which is the iconic thing that you always look for.
Yeah.
So that whole scene I thought was pretty good. But then also, I think my other favorite scene was the car chase, but with Tom Cruise and the woman like handcuffed.
Oh, the handcuffed, in the yellow,
in
car?
the fucking yellow car.
Yeah.
And they're just going everywhere because you're like, oh, it's so refreshing to see like a shit car.
Yeah. I think also like a stunt we've never seen before. Like they're both driving one-handed. They're tied to each other.
Yeah.
And they're swapping seats because the car's flipping around.
I mean, like, I don't know. I never thought Mission Impossible. I mean, Mission Impossible was funny.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it was that funny. And I was laughing out loud in the cinema.
Yeah.
So I was quite surprised. I was like, aha.
I found that like in regard to the first scene that you're talking about, when they were like, this is the international the Impossible Mission Force. And it just sounds so lame.
Yeah, it does. You know? It sounds so like 70s, right?
It sounds so 70s.
And it's like, this is still going on? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, change the name, guys.
But it's funny because in that scene, like, it's full of famous faces.
Yeah.
There's only like, oh my God, like, they've really, all the money's coming in. Like, these are all really prominent figures in acting. And then obviously there's the huge reveal of Tom being in room the entire time. And all those face mask reveals, regardless of which movie, is always like, oh my God, that's him.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. But every time,
come on.
And the music like kicks in, and you're like, oh my God, this is really cool.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah, and it's funny because that scene actually, the end of that sequence is like beginning of the movie, like the intro credit starts, and that's 28 minutes into the movie.
Is it?
Which is great.
And I think it's the first time a Mission Impossible film doesn't start with Tom in the first scene.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
You guys done
your
research?
I think so. Well, it's just because like I did a marathon like in the last 3 months.
I mean, I did the same as well. Yeah.
But I'm gonna piggyback on Lorna's favorite scene. For me, it was the Fiat 500 scene.
It's good.
Just driving through. Was it Venice or Rome?
It was Rome.
It was
Rome.
Yeah. So Rome is the city that I've just always wanted to go to, like my entire life, and I've never been. And because I'm a nerd, I played Assassin's Creed, and
me too.
You're in Rome, and it's just fucking awesome. So like to see a car that I've also wanted to drive in Italy, because it's like the most Italian thing to do. In a Fiat
that
500.
and a Vespa, right? It's like
that or a Vespa. Yeah, exactly. So I just really like not the fact that it was like an impressive scene where they're handcuffed and doing it, but it's just the fact that they're in like it's the comedic factor, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I found it really interesting, like, because the podcast with the director last week, he was saying in that scene, no one could see what was happening inside the car when they were filming. So like they were just kind of bouncing off each other. Tom Cruise and what was the actor's name again?
Haley Atwell.
Haley, yeah. And I was like, oh, that's so nice. But also like, fucking hell, they must have done it so many times.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I think they did it 18 times.
They did it. Yeah. And then I think they've released clips of them practicing like training for it. It's just insane. Like the streets are so narrow. If you ever go to Rome, you'll realize how narrow those streets are. So it's quite ridiculous.
I played Assassin's Creed, so I think I know about the street.
I didn't realize. I mean, we heard it in the podcast with McQuarrie last week, but the sequence where they go down the steps and the car's tumbling down the steps. I didn't realize they had to build that as a separate set piece.
I mean, of course, I'm not going to let them do
I
that.
know they're not going to do it.
Historic
but during the film, when you're watching it, it's obviously filmed. I mean, it's captured so specifically that the illusion works incredibly well. Like, oh, that was a set. What the hell?
Yeah. But even like the director was saying, there were so many different shades of yellow for that one car. So like these things, you're like, oh yeah, I just take for granted for so much when I watch these massive budget movies. You just presume that everything is easy for them.
Yeah.
Because they have so much money. But actually like it is still, you know, attention to detail is insane in those kind of movies.
Yeah. And I guess it comes down to the producers and the director of what they are picking, you know, like if that color, like they want the ambience to look or feel that way, that color is really important. While there are other directors that are like, well, I don't want to keep referencing the talk that we went to, but it's like there's a matter of like practicality when it comes to making a film, and then there's actually like the thought into like, ooh, this symbolizes this and blah 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 blah. Yeah. But what's your favorite scene?
So it's, I mean, I love those. I love those scenes. They're all great. It was my favorite part of the film. Everything in Venice was the entire Venice sequence was my standout, controversially, because it includes extremely controversial ending to that sequence.
Yeah,
with the death
Ferguson?
of
Abzab.
Yeah, Rebecca Ferguson. Yeah, which we're yet to see if that is genuine or not.
I don't know. If that's her death, so. I'm pissed off because I'm like,
I'd be too,
I really liked her character, and I hadn't really seen a character like her who was equal to the male, but there wasn't really a love interest. It was kind of this weird, just
there was
like
an equalness. Yeah, they were mirrors of each other.
That's cool. And then she barely had any lines up until that moment. Yeah. And then she just gets like, and she has a fake death at the start. Yeah. So then when she dies for the second time, you're like, well,
I think
can't be fake again.
Do you think? Because like this movie has been pushed back, right? It was pushed back 3 years.
It was pushed back a while, because mid-COVID.
Like, I think she's been in so many things recently. I've seen her in so many things.
Yeah.
Do you think it was a choice because of her, like maybe a schedule or her career?
I
or
think
do you think
it's
actually like?
I don't think it's her career. Like it's still a really good film to be in, but yeah, maybe it was scheduling problems.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I was like, this is so shit.
I think at the time, because she had Dune Part 2 and she had Silo, the TV show.
Yeah.
But now that they're done, right, and they've not filmed the entirety of Part 2,
just come back to life.
I mean, there are key clues and allusions to the fact of she might be dead or not. I mean, the whole entire franchise is built off of fake outs and reveals, and in the entire in this film, each of the central characters are at least once dressed like a magician. So Tom Cruise with the waistcoat, Haley Atwell in the suit, Rebecca Ferguson in like the magician cloak.
Yeah.
So like, there's an allusion to obviously elusive craft in the film, and obviously the use of face masks, etc.
They definitely foreshadowed her death though with was it Gabriel shooting Tom's?
Oh, in the flashback.
In the flashback, yeah. So there is they were pointing towards it. So third time lucky.
I mean, yeah, fool me once, was it?
Yeah.
But I think the particular moment I'm thinking of is when they're all in the party, and there's this weird like Mexican standoff without any guns. Yeah, they all stood around talking about what's going to happen next, and everyone's like, "Holy shit! Like one of us is going to fucking die here."
Yeah.
And Vanessa Kirby's character is properly pooping herself, being like, "I actually don't know what I'm doing."
I was like, "Kill the new girl."
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean. Obviously, they're shaping
Captain America's ex-wife.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're shaping her up to be the protege, right? Haley Atwell's character.
Yeah.
But I thought that sequence in the party was great, and then Gabriel being like, "Oh, actually, that interested party is the party, and the party is the AI antagonist."
Oh, I feel like we should wait and get onto AI.
Yeah, well, I guess we can leave that to the armchair moment. But how about we move to favorite performances, since we're talking about a few performances here. I mean, I'm just going to go out and say it, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to say
Tom.
it.
Yeah.
Big Tom.
It's funny because he's such a good comedic actor as well as an action star, right?
And he's so... You don't see that kind of comedy anymore.
No. It's physical stuff like Looney Tunes, Buster Keaton.
But also, like, he is so invested in these films.
Yeah.
Which sounds really stupid to say, but it's like, it's kind of rare for an actor to be this invested in a film.
I mean, he's produced all of them.
Like, he cannot be... There's no Mission Impossible without him.
I wanted to ask, does anyone remember that freak out that Tom had during COVID?
Yeah.
Was it on the set of this film?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because, like, you could tell that he was just genuinely...
into it.
Yeah, well, he was just like so into it that he was pissed that people would
break protocol.
break protocol and jeopardize this film being made.
Because he spent $500,000 on a cruise for the whole crew to isolate on during COVID. So he's invested, like, obviously he's a producer, so he's using not just the studio's money but his own money.
Yeah. Shout out Tom.
I mean, he's a good producer. He's produced all of them. Like, he's the one that brought on De Palma for the original, which I didn't realize, which is crazy that a young 20-something-year-old guy was like, "I'll bring on Brian De Palma." like, who has the power to do that as a 20-something-year-old? That's crazy.
Who has the brain to even think of that as a 20-year-old?
I know.
Yeah. Because, like, Tom Cruise himself, questionable. I don't know. I'm a bit kind of like, But his attitude towards film, I'm like, it's really respectful. It's good.
Well, he definitely has the chops. Magnolia, like...
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Collateral.
Yeah, so...
No, he can... Yeah, because I think, like, when I started watching his earlier work, I was like, wow, what the hell? Like, he's a really good actor.
Yeah, there's a really interesting article, like a journal, like piece, called "From Wimps to Wild Men." It's about bipolar masculinity, particularly in Tom Cruise's like paradox performances, and like it's the paradox of, in America you have movie stars that are either wimps or wild men. So you have your wild men such like Arnie, your Stallones, and you have your wimps like your William H. Macy's and your Mark Wahlbergs back in the 90s, for example. Yeah. And the paradox is that Tom Cruise was able to dance on both of those sides. So if he's able to do Magnolia, where he's a very wimpish, you know, toxic masculine character, whereas he dances a line where he goes on to like to be a wild man in Mission Impossible. And like, you could say even Jerry Maguire, even though that's a dance of wimp and wild man.
You are a movie oldie.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really good article. I've read it a few times, and I don't know if you guys have seen Magnolia recently, but
as soon as I met you, I was like, this guy is going to be perfect for this podcast. Yeah.
Too kind. But yeah, I mean, I get told off a lot by my mum being like, talk about something else. Why do you talk about film all the time? Can you talk about life?
Well, before we get too sidetracked, what are your two favorite performances? Or do you guys agree with Tom?
I liked it, but I also liked, is it Pom?
Oh, fuck.
Oh, Pom. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was going to say Pom, yeah.
Because again, like,
wait, let's just put it into perspective. She's also Nebula from Guardians of the Galaxy. Mantis. Sorry, not Nebula, Mantis. Yeah.
Who is criminally underused in those films, because in this film she was
terribly written.
Incredible. Yeah.
Well, she was amazingly written in this film.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I didn't recognize her because obviously in Marvel she's got those massive eyes and lots of VFX. But I did not realize it was the same person. I was like, she's such a good actress. And she's so fucking scary in this movie.
She's super physical.
But really physical. And like the fight scene in that alleyway, I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, I
think on par with Raid.
I mean, that sequence in particular was super. I was sweating. I was really nervous.
It's hard work.
Because we've done Raid on. Is it Raid? The Indonesian film? Yeah, we did that on this podcast before.
Oh, nice.
And I think that's like the best, like, claustrophobic fight scene, like in a hallway. 100%. But that scene, you know what? Actually, I need to switch my scene out because I totally forgot about that claustrophobic fight scene.
Yeah, it was good.
That was incredible.
Really, like, because it obviously in this one the cameras are all about close-ups, right? In this movie, it's sort of like what's real, what's not real. Like, let's look at the faces. And in that fight scene, it's so in your face. Like when she's screaming and running at the camera, it's like, how the hell are they doing? And the space is so small. So how are they getting a camera in there? And two, like, how is she moving around that space with the two other guys in there?
Of that, I was going to say dance, of that fight must have been so insane.
Fighting is a dance, Lorna.
But I didn't realize.
It must be insane
I follow her on social media. I don't know if you guys do, but
on social media.
But she's a huge like stunt freak. Like she loves skydiving. She loves she does all this crazy stuff.
That's so bad that she doesn't do anything in Marvel.
She's super good at it. Like I saw her do a skydive, and she was like incredibly controlled.
Yeah.
And I think like that's another reason why Tom was like, oh my god, like we have to get her in the movie. She has such good skills. But yeah, my choice would have been Pom as well. But before we move on from that, I thought the guy who played Kittredge, Henry Czerny, who came back from the first film.
Oh, yeah.
Has one of the best voices.
100%. Yeah.
Ever. I think he's great. When he's giving them their mission briefing at the start and the end, I'm like,
yeah.
Your impression of his voice?
No. But wait, there's a moment where he says like bounty hunter. And I'm like, oh,
bounty hunter. Bounty hunter.
But yeah, and also he's in a really good film from the 90s called Clear and Present Danger. Don't know if you saw it. It's like an old Harrison Ford, Jack Ryan movie.
Nah.
And he's really good in that. I mean, he's a good antagonist in that. There's a good action, inverted commas, scene where him and Harrison Ford have an argument. And it's the most riveting action scene with that action I have seen.
Well, damn.
Yeah.
Back to the other male, which we're talking about.
Sorry. Tom.
His main.
No, I love him. He's great.
All right. Well.
Oh, I think also another underrated double act is the Shea Wiggum and Greg Tarzan Davis. Yeah, incredible. They were like Looney Tunes comic relief running around trying to get her.
They're a better version of was it Tokyo Train? No.
That came out
with
recently.
Adam Johnson. Is it Adam Johnson?
Bullet Train.
Yeah. With Adam Johnson and I can't remember.
Aaron Johnson.
See, and
Brian.
Adam Johnson is the
newbie.
Aaron Taylor Johnson and Brian Tyree Henry.
Yeah.
They were really funny.
Just to say, Adam Johnson is the nonce that used to play for Middlesbrough.
Okay.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah, sorry, I fucked that up, and I always do. But yeah, I thought they were a better version of those two. Yeah,
totally. Just completely funny, and like the whole movie leans into the Looney Tunes aspect of the physical performance. Like Tom, I think obviously the stand-up performance in the film, but you can see so many like Buster Keaton elements. Like he's flinging himself off a mountain, he's flinging himself into a train. You know, there's Sherlock Jr.
It reminded me of like old video games as well. You know, like when they were trying to climb up through the train, and there was like like the gas coming, and it just reminds me of like playing a video game, and you're like waiting for that, and you're like timing it right. And
Uncharted 2, the opening of that is the train.
Pretty much,
and also Jurassic Park 2 has the very similar sequence where the train truck that they drive is hanging over the cliff.
Oh yes,
and the T-Rexes are trying to, and they're climbing through it.
What is it with trains and men?
I mean, there's only two things you can do with the train, right? It either goes out of control or it goes off a bridge.
Yeah,
that's the only two things it does in movies.
What about Harry Potter?
Harry Potter is not
it just transports you, and then things do go out of control when the Dementor comes and freezes.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, anyway. That's the first time in film where it stops. A train stops.
Yeah,
crashes.
Well, what did Christopher McQuarrie say? The train scene was not an action sequence; it was a
suspense sequence.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think also like all the Mission Impossible films have action sequences, but I wouldn't necessarily call them action films. Like I think this is the first one I've been like, okay, this is an adventure film, right?
Yeah,
20-minute set piece, 20-minute dialogue, 20-minute set piece, 20-minute dialogue, and it reminded me a lot of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Right, they're going after a MacGuffin to find another MacGuffin, but they're going to all these exotic locations doing it, and they just so happen to get in like a silly action sequence.
Because like Mission Impossible, all of the films is like fucking 3 or 4 films within a film.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay, it's coming to an end, and it's like, bam, another massive sequence.
Yeah, there's like
and then
10
like
plots.
I think we were talking about how they kept hyping up the motorbike scene.
Yeah,
and in the film, for me, it happened quite kind of like obviously they're as an audience, you knew what was coming.
Sure.
Obviously, Tom, his character didn't, so you're like, oh, it's really exciting, But then it happens, and it happens quite fast, and you're like, okay. But then they slap you with a massive like train sequence after.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay. But then again, I watched footage, like phone footage of Tom doing it.
Yeah, the jump.
And I actually found it way more impressive just looking at it like in normal speed on someone's iPhone because you're like, holy fuck, he just goes off that cliff.
Yeah.
He just goes. But like, in the movie, it's all kind of like slow-mo. And I think our eyes are just so used to kind of VFX stuff now that it's like, oh, okay. But when you see it on an iPhone footage, you're like, oh my God.
The studio released like a 10-minute video about it. You should watch it.
Well, we watched
like behind the scenes
when we went to watch Avatar 2.
Oh yeah, it was in front of Avatar 2.
They had that.
So I've seen this multiple times. And I'm like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
But no, it's just like the shitty iPhone footage. I was like, wow.
I think someone made a really good point. A critic who writes, I think either for the Guardian or Telegraph, made a good point of like, you know it's there, but the thing is you have to see it, right? On the big screen. Like, as an audience, you're going to see the stunt.
Yeah.
And like, sure, like in the trailer and everything, we see him go off the cliff, but it's the literal what happens the moment after the trailer ends.
Yeah.
Like with him free falling down, the camera's like on his face. It's like, what the fuck? How's he doing that? How's he talking and falling? Yeah. And I mean, it reminded me of the Halo sequence at the start of Fallout where they jump out the plane. Right, and it's like one shot IMAX, and it's really the behind the scenes that is.
And he's like hanging on the plane.
Yeah,
it's like
and
mad.
I just like, I don't know what goes through his mind, but
crazy.
And we would just know that the more dangerous ones are yet to come. So
I thought Simon Pegg wasn't really in it this time.
He's never really in it.
I don't know. I feel like he's always got really good funny lines and stuff. And this one he had like one or two. And that was kind of it.
He had a segment with the bomb. The psychometric
the bomb
test.
Was like, but apart from that, I'm like, I don't remember him really in it that much.
I think him and Luther were just like the double act behind the men.
Benji,
the women's were taking over in this film.
Luther.
Like I always loved Luther because they're basically they're usually the other character, if you know what I mean. Like Benji would be the tech guy, and Luther would be the Benji guy.
Yeah. And like Benji's like the agent in the field and Luther's the man on the chair.
Yeah.
But it's funny because like Ving Rhames, all he did in this movie, and I think the last movie as well, was just like sit down. Yeah, which is great. Which is great.
Well, he's basically Ethan's conscience.
Yeah. His moral compass.
Yeah, his moral compass. Yeah. But shall we move to favorite quote?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So we've already spoken about my favorite quote just because I found it fucking hilarious. But it's the international. No, I keep saying international.
No, that's my quote.
It's the impossible mission force. Is that your favorite quote?
Well, you can't even say it properly, so I'm going to steal it first.
Steal it.
It's going to be the impossible mission force.
Yeah.
Fourth. Yeah, I thought it was just really funny because it just kind of grounds the whole film down because you're just like,
this is ridiculous.
A little bit ridiculous. It's like, how is this?
It's like, oh yeah, this is Mission Impossible we're watching right now.
Yeah, it's like, this is not James Bond. This is Mission Impossible Force.
The impossible that answer to no one.
Yeah,
right.
It's like, what? Anyway, what about you?
I think by far and away, there's a quote for the books and history here. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you remember in number 5, Alec Baldwin is like, oh, Ethan Hunt is the living manifestation of destiny.
Yeah.
and everyone is like, oh my God, that's like the hardest line. Like, that's so fucking cool. And then they top it in this movie with Shea Wiggum's character. The moment Shea Wiggum comes on screen, he's in like the big like plane helicopter and they're going after Ethan. And he says, He introduces Ethan like this. He goes, he is not to be underestimated, a master of infiltration, deception, sabotage, and psych warfare. For all intensive purposes, ladies and gentlemen, a mind-reading, shape-shifting incarnation of chaos, and should not be considered compromised until you've driven a wooden stake through his open art. Art is open art.
It's open art.
I remember listening to that. I was like, holy shit.
That's when they're on the private jet, right?
That's when they're arriving at the airport to find Ethan.
Yeah.
And he's briefing his team being like, we just got to kill this guy.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's a hefty quote, but he delivered it and I was like, that is fucking hilarious.
I wonder if Tom Cruise wrote that.
I think I saw someone like met him on the red carpet for the film. And someone said, are you a living incarnation of chaos? And then he said, the studios think I am, and walked away. And I was like, Jesus, legend.
Oh, Tom.
Tom,
the short king.
Yeah, I think the other funny one is, I can't remember the dialogue, but they're on the train and Ethan and Tom and Haley on the train and he's like, I have to go get the key. You have to stop the train. She's like, what the fuck? Stop the train.
Yeah.
That is good.
She's like, how do I do that? And then he runs away. I mean, as you say, like, I don't remember these movies being so funny.
Yeah.
But this one was like arguably one of the funniest comedies of the year. Not the, but one of.
I guess we just get it now.
Yeah.
It's just like but
I think also
silliness of how serious it is sometimes.
Did you guys see Top Gun Maverick? I assume you did.
Yeah.
Like, that was also quite funny. But
I
also,
thought that was more serious than this.
But had an open heart, you could say. It was very much more emotive than this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think there's a philosophy there of Cruise to be like, the audience experience has to be rewarding. Like, you're choosing to pay 15, 20 quid to sit in front of my film. I'm going to make you feel like you experience all the genres and get all the emotions and you leave so satisfied, which is great.
Well, I think it's really clever because, like, when we listened to the podcast of the director last week, I hadn't really listened to any interviews with him. I didn't know how he was going to be. But he was, like, pretty grounded. Like, he knew what kind of film he's making.
Yeah.
He knows that, like, you'll go and see the film and you probably will tune out and watch it rather than listen to it for a while.
Yeah.
And he does and edits things for a reason to kind of bring you back in. And it is so true rather than just being like, you know... Yeah, I think a director knows his audience. He knows the kind of film he's making, and he's like, you know,
it's really interesting because he's been a writer longer than he's been a director. I think
you can tell.
Yeah, and I know that he was brought onto Mission Impossible 4 as a ghostwriter.
Okay, when did he start directing them?
Number 5, but he was uncredited on number 4 because they brought him in to rewrite the script because they were trying to write Tom Cruise out of the franchise and write Jamie Renner into the franchise. And McQuarrie came in and he was like, whoa, you've got it all wrong. Why are you writing Tom out? You have to write him even more in. And he rewrote the script, which is what the film ended up being. And then they were like, right, from now on, McQuarrie, it's all yours. Like, you've just saved the franchise. Yeah.
Because at the time, Tom Cruise and Paramount were having a huge
thing.
Yeah. So I think they wanted to get
rewatch them all again.
Yeah, I really want to watch them all again.
All right. Well, I think now it's time to go to the armchair moment, or I guess the what if moment. So if there's anything that you want to nitpick.
Oh my God, we haven't even fucking talked about the AI thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
Did you not like that?
Yeah. So like, I'm going to say, like for me, I found the villain or villains of the movie not scary at all.
Yeah.
Like,
there's been such good villains in the past, like Philip Seymour Hoffman and stuff, and
Henry Cavill.
Yeah, Henry Cavill. He was so good. And like, I think
hot.
For me to have a villain that's like something that you can't see, it's not scary. It's not like a horror film where it's like, oh, but if you don't see it, it's more scary. It's like, no, it's not. I don't know. I just wasn't scared of it.
I do agree that we didn't see what it could do aside from the mimicking the voice, right? Mimic the voice of Simon Pegg and it tricked Tom. And he went the wrong way, which I guess was kind of scary, spooky night, wrong way, mysterious voice. Yeah. But we don't know what the NC can do.
But for me, I don't find that scary. I just find it like
annoying. Yeah.
Yeah, because like we're going possibly through that in our world.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no. Like, I want to be in Mission Impossible world. I want it to be like a baddie.
Well, it was written pre-COVID.
Yeah, pre-chat GPT. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pre-chat, which is kind of because Top Gun Maverick, because McQuarrie and Cruise were on that project as well, was initially meant to be directed by Tony Scott, who passed away. But Tony Scott wrote an outline that he wanted the story to be about AI and drones as the Air Force.
Right.
And I think when they picked up Top Gun 2 to make finally with Kaczynski, they read the script and they're like, we can't do this yet. So I think McQuarrie and Cruise have retaken those elements and brought them into Mission without realizing that, oh shit, this is actually really relevant at the moment by the time the film had released, I think.
Well, I don't know if any... well, I was going to say, like, there's... what's his... The guy who wrote Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons, I can't remember. I think it's Dan Brown.
Dan Brown, Dan
Brown, the author. So I think his most recent book in that franchise or series or whatever, the last one was also this whole AI kind of thing.
Really?
And I think that book came out in like 2016 or 17. So, because I love that series, so I read that book.
Yeah.
And it was just very similar, like a very similar kind of storyline, because like even there, you know, you have like the Tom Hanks character.
Yeah.
What's his name?
He's like professor.
Yeah, the professor, and he always has a brunette girl, like in Mission Impossible. It's always
like
a brunette.
you, babe. I don't know. I just think that like all this AI stuff is like we get it. Like that's why no one rewatches Black Mirror anymore. Because you're just like, don't want to see what we really kind of have ourselves.
I thought it was interesting in the sense of like the entity, right? The entity is this like evil godlike figure that watches over all of us, and he has the dark angel Gabriel as his physical form to do his bidding.
Namesake.
Yeah, so I think there's there's like this religious horror aspect to the presence of that. So Tom Cruise is basically fighting God in this film, but we're yet to see the wrath of God.
I just thought, so what? Gabriel is the guy.
Yeah, the villain. Yeah.
Sorry, me bad names in films. I just found him not that scary because there's something scarier than him who's kind of controlling him. So he just kind of seems like a wee bit of a puppet. Yeah. So I wasn't that bothered by him. I'm not gonna lie.
What did you think of?
I kind of like I can't remember her name. Blonde female.
Vanessa Kirby.
I quite liked her because you just don't know if she's good or bad. Like she's obviously a wee bit more bad.
Yeah.
But I quite like that you just don't know what she's going to decide next. And the Gabriel guy. He's predictable.
I think it's like Vanessa Kirby's character is more believable than Gabriel's character.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's like in this world today, we're more technology averse. Like people won't risk. Like I don't think there'll be a villain that would be like, oh, I believe this AI entity technology, and that is my boss. And like I don't think
he
like
pays me a monthly salary.
Yeah, like I don't think a human would do that.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, obviously, don't forget this is a part one. We're still yet to find out what is going on.
I'm also like, I'm not that big a fan of part one and part twos.
Yeah, I agree.
There's only like been a few films where I've enjoyed it, where you're like, oh, okay. I normally like, I don't mind part one, part twos when you don't know the character, like Dune. Like I didn't know the character, so it felt like a proper introduction. I enjoyed it, but then this one I was a bit kind of like, why did you not just make a good first film and then you just carry on to the next one? I feel
like part one, they should have just deleted that from the title.
Yeah, I think so. But I
guess it might make sense in the next film. Because you know how like what Endgame and Infinity War was a part one, part two.
But they changed
But they didn't really have the part one, part two name.
Yeah, and I thought they were really successful because they're solid movies by themselves. Like
but they connect.
But they flow into it. But you're like, you have a satisfying ending. I think, but this one I was like, okay, you're kind of just waiting to see what happens next.
I mean, in comparison to other part one movies that released this year, like it didn't have the traditional like cliffhanger ending, even though the movie literally ended on a cliffhanger. Yeah. but the movie had a conclusive ending. Like they got the key.
Yeah, it definitely did.
And they got the briefing for the mission and they've gone off now. And there'll be probably a time jump when the next movie starts.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad that it didn't do an end game like
it didn't do like
got the key. No, you don't have the key. Like I'm glad it didn't do that because it does make it more of a one film, self-contained kind of thing.
I was really worried that because I had just seen the Spider-Verse film.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, well I'm not going to spoil it, but I was not a fan of the ending because it was a cliffhanger ending.
Right.
And now that we know that we won't have this for a few years now, I was like, oh, that's really, really, I really didn't like it. Whereas with this, I was like, oh, it's fulfilled. Like, Haley Atwell gets accepted into the IMF.
Yeah, true.
Benji and Tom go off. Kittredge gives them the briefing. And they have the key. And, like, who knows what's going to happen next? Like, the sub is still there waiting to be found.
Yeah.
So conclusively, I would counter you, Lorna, and say I enjoyed the ending.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I'm going to say one more thing. I actually really liked the airport scene as well.
Yeah. It was wicked.
It was fun.
And before we move on, the soundtrack, the score in that sequence is incredible.
Dang,
when they're all like running away at the end,
this
and it's
is the
kicking
difference
in.
between a 3-time watcher and a 1-time watcher.
You've seen it 3 times.
I've seen it 3 times, and I want to go for a 4th time.
Fucking hell.
Hit me up, man.
I mean,
where do you go?
I've been to the IMAX twice, and then I went to the Barbican because I get £5 tickets, and then Picture House I can get like £5.99. But the composer, I'm quite a big fan of Lorne Balfe. He's really good. He did Fallout, which I thought was amazing. But I just loved the music. I thought
you
the music
normally
was
watch
incredible.
movies like
multiple times.
Yeah, but very close. Do you leave like a week in between?
Usually a week. I usually try and see them twice. Like, for example, Asteroid City, I saw twice in the same week.
See,
in 2 days, actually.
I wanted to say, like, as I've gotten older, I feel like I need to watch movies more than once. Because, like, in the last year and a half or maybe 2 years, I've been like,
yeah,
I need to watch that again.
Yeah.
I need to watch that again. And, like, it's just, it doesn't feel right. Like, I can't,
and also, like, I panic quite a lot. So when I watch it for the first time, particularly during films like, particularly during films I care about, like Mission Impossible and like even Top Gun Maverick, for example, like I'm so panicked, like I don't really enjoy it fully the first time.
No, I get you.
So I watch it the first time to learn what happens. Yeah. And the second time I can sit back and enjoy it without being like, holy shit, I'm going to shit myself if something bad happens.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we'll talk about it soon, but a certain movie that begins with a B and ends with an E, I think I was just screaming mentally in my head. In my head the whole time. Anyway, we'll get onto that later.
So, we have a few options for the bonus question today, but I guess because we have a guest, and our guest has given us a bonus question.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what is the question?
The question. So, I'm glad you all rewatched the films recently, so they're kind of fresh in your memory. So the question is, gun to your head, you know, I'll kill you if you don't do a stunt from. You have to do one stunt from one of the movies. Which one would you do if you had a gun to your head? Basically, like it can be Dead Reckoning or the others. But if there was a gun to your head and you're gonna die or something,
I already know.
Which one would you do?
Like, I already know. As soon as I heard stunt, like I already
which one would you do?
It's the most iconic Mission Impossible stunt ever.
The Spider
Mission
Web.
Impossible 2.
Oh.
When he's getting the code.
That's the first one.
Oh, that's the first one.
Yeah.
Sorry. So the first one. Yeah. When he's getting the code and he's like...
He hangs.
And there's the French actor. What's his name?
Jean Reno.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And there's like a...
And he's like belaying him and holding him inside the...
He's in the air vent.
The air vent. You know, that's such... That for me is Mission Impossible.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think like... I don't know. It's just so iconic that was the first thing that popped into my head. But you're saying... Which is the stunt that you would do?
Which is like if there was a gun to your head and you had to do a stunt, which one would you do?
Because I feel like that's actually probably the easiest stunt, but it is also the most iconic.
Yeah, it's the most contained because you're just dropping from a room ceiling.
I wouldn't mind being on the side of the airplane.
I was thinking that, but I was like, that the amount of pressure you get.
How cold that is.
Yeah, but I'm from Scotland. It's fine. Babe.
Look at us, both of us are like, nah.
No, I think the plane would be pretty cool.
Right.
Like if I was Tom Cruise,
and
I had the strength and the weird brain he has, I would, because like on the side of a building, like you could just be cleaning windows. You're not like but that's a normal job as well.
That was my second one.
But being on a plane,
climbing the
Burj,
climbing the Burj Khalifa, and then like kicking like with the laser, and then kicking into
I still don't. When I watch that, I still don't believe that's real because that's insane.
That is insane.
It can happen. So like I watched this video of a former CIA special agent talking about how believable each Mission Impossible stunt is.
Yeah.
He said the only thing that isn't believable about that stunt is that it happened in the daytime. Is that because it happened in the daytime?
Wow. So what would yours be then?
Yeah.
On the side of the airplane?
I think so. I'm trying to think what other big stunts are there. So
there's climbing the Burj.
Wait, number one in the film.
There's that underwater one where they're like trying.
Yeah.
I think it was number 4.
Number 5.
The underwater where they're in that like revolving
in the
thing.
turbine.
Water.
Yeah, I can do water.
What was number 2?
Scary.
Number 2, the stunts were more like motorcycle stuff, and like he jumped out of a building.
I swear
in that.
There was
a
thing
in number 2. He jumps out of a building like that. Like there's a hole in the side, and he jumps out of the building like that into a base jump. And then number 3,
because number 2 was so sexual.
It was so sexy. Super erotic.
It was so erotic. They're like, we're in a bathtub together.
Number 3 is the pendulum swing in Shanghai.
Yeah,
which I would be leaning more into because I don't know, it seems more secure. I don't know.
Boring.
I mean, running doesn't count. We can't count running because we can all theoretically run.
Yeah, but can
Not
you run
like him,
Tom though?
No, I wish.
All right. Well, I guess it's time for some ratings. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. You're all going to be shocked.
And one is me.
I'm going to give Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, 10 halves of the cruciform key, plus another 10 half of the cruciform key out of 10, which is 10 out of 10. Yeah, I loved it. 10 out of 10. I've seen it 3 times. Going for a 4th. Obviously, I think it's 10 out of 10.
Nice.
Well, I was going to give it a... No, I think...
I'm going to put a gun to your head, Lorna.
I want to side of a plane. But, I would give it like 8 trains.
Ooh.
There we go.
Train carts or just like trains?
Trains.
Trains.
Ooh.
Okay. I like trains.
Yeah.
Yeah. Smash them.
Smash them.
8 smashed trains.
8 smashed trains. Ooh.
Smashed.
You sound like John Frankenheimer.
Smashed.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna be in the middle because, like, I think the villain for me is always super important for a Mission Impossible film.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with 9 in the middle of you guys. So I'm gonna go 9 out of 10. Look, I just had it. What was it? Oh yeah, Fiat 500s. 9 out of 10.
That's
Fiat
good.
500s.
It's because I've stolen the 10th one. That's why.
Yeah,
you're gonna
yeah.
get that.
No.
Well, like, it's not a 10 for me because of the villain. Yeah,
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
That's fair.
I left a little bit unsatisfied with the villain.
Yeah, no, that for me, I was just like,
Especially in the party when they were looking at it, and I was like, it's a plasma screen. Like, it's
Yeah.
just...
But I mean, but did you see it? I mean, it's a very privileged take, but I saw it in IMAX, right?
Yeah.
And it makes this weird growling sound to the entity, and like the seats were like this, shaking. I'm shaking for the
maybe.
people at home.
I mean, for me, it wasn't scary. Like for me, the best AI villain in entertainment, I guess. Has anyone played the game Portal?
Yeah, GLaDOS. Yeah, GLaDOS is great.
That's a great AI fucking thing. There's nothing beats that for me. So you have to beat that as an AI intelligence.
True. Okay, well, you've trumped that there.
Yeah. Well,
Christopher McQuarrie, hope you're listening.
Yeah, I hope you're listening,
Get
Chris.
GLaDOS in there.
Well, I guess, do you have anything to plug?
To plug, not really. Just make sure you have in your diaries when they announce the part 2 release date, because you should all be there immediately. And in the meantime, watch all of Tom Cruise's films. He is actually really good.
Yeah. You don't have anything you're working on? Anything creative?
Not at the moment. I mean, I'm currently on a bit of a hiatus, so I'm just enjoying life, watching good movies, bit of a floater, drinking some good drinks
Oh,
whilst I watch movies.
Anything to plug? Anything you're working on?
I'm working on some projects, but they are secret.
Yeah.
So...
Mission Impossible Part 2.
Yeah. Imagine.
Well,
I'm on a cruise ship with Tom Cruise.
Cruises.
Well, I'm
He should
gonna
have his own
plug.
brand,
I'm gonna plug
sir.
my own thing. If you're free, September 3rd. I started an agency, so like we're doing a little events, a little DJ drinking, food kind of thing. If you're in West London, or if you want to go to West London to this amazing place called Next Door Records, September 3rd, Sunday, between 6 and 10. Or if you want to go earlier, you can go earlier. They've got pizza. Or actually, I don't even know if they still do pizza. They might have another kitchen. But
What was the location?
it's called Next Door Records in Shepherd's Bush. It's a nice little record store, kitchen, cocktail bar. They've got nice wines. So yeah, if you want to come down, if you want to meet any of the other movie newbies plus guests, yeah, be there. It's a free event. So you don't have to pay anything except getting yourself drunk or not drunk.
Perfect.
But yeah, on that note, I'm going to say...
Well, I will come in a motorbike.
Yeah,
Oh,
maybe.
you're going to jump
Yeah,
in?
Yeah. I'm going to run into the venue.
Fuck yeah.
I'll come wearing a mask,
And a
so
Fiat
none of you will
500. Oh
recognize
shit,
me.
nobody's going to know. He's going to come up as me.
Oh, God.
But on that note, thank you for listening to the podcast. It's been
Bye.
great. Love this episode. Thank you for being on it. We're going to see you on the next one.
Thank you for having me.
We're here
Thanks
on
for
the next
listening.
one. And yeah, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, do all that shit. You know what to do. And all right, chaffing out, people. Love y'all.